this video, I would like to talk about fractions and just a quick review for calculus. So what is a fraction? A fraction is basically a real number A over a real number B, okay? So it could be like, example, it could be like 2 over 3, or for example, square root of 2 over 4. And also a fraction can have a negative sign before it, so it could be like this, so negative A over B. But something interesting about the negative and fraction is that the negative is floating, so the negative could be like this, negative A over B, and also it could be like A over negative B. Okay, so as an example, we can have negative square root of 5 over 10.5, and it's equal to negative square root of 5 over 10.5. All of them are the same, and also the negative could be on the denominator, like this. All of them are the same thing, so whenever that you have a negative on the denominator, you can bring it in front, or you can bring the negative up on the numerator. So as you see here, negative is floating, okay? Something else about fractions would be called mixed fractions. And this is something that we don't use it that much in calculus, but it is helpful to know. If we have A and then B over C, okay, so something that we do to make it like a nice fraction like this one is that we are going to multiply A by C, and then we are going to add the result to B, okay? So the answer here would be this. I'm going to keep the denominator, and the numerator I have A times C plus B. A times C plus B. It's a nice fraction. As an example, I have something like this. For example, 2 1/3, it's what? So it's a fraction. Denominator is 3, and then on the numerator I have 2 times 3 plus 1. So 2 times 3 plus 1, which is 7 over 3, okay? Or let's have another example for 6 over 5. Denominator is 5, and the numerator I have 4 times 5 plus 6. So 4 times 5 plus 6, it would be 26 over 5. Great. Now, how can we simplify fractions? So, simplifying fractions, it's like this. So for example, if you have A times B on the numerator and then A times C on the denominator, then A on the numerator is going to be cancelled with the A on the denominator, and the answer would be B over C. Okay, so as an example, we're gonna do like this. For example, if you have 10 over 15, we can write the prime factors on the numerator and on the denominator. So 10 would be 2 times 5, 15 would be 3 times 5, 5 is common on the numerator and denominator, so I can cancel them. I left with 2/3, okay? Or let's work on some more like a calculus example. 15x, okay? So I have 5xy over 15 is 3 times 5 and then times x, okay? As you see in here, I have 5, so the 5 on the top and bottom is going to be cancelled, and x is common factor on the top and the bottom. So I left with a y and I left with a 3, okay? Pay attention that if we have a plus sign between them, for example, it's a mistake that some students make, is that if you have something like this, A plus B over A plus C, okay? Or if they have a negative sign between them, you cannot cancel A and then write this equals to B over C. This is wrong. Okay, this is completely wrong. When you can cancel them is when we have a multiplication between the factors. Okay, so you cannot cancel A on the top and bottom when we have a plus sign in here. Okay. As an example of a mistake that some students make is like this. For example, we have a fraction 5x plus 3 over 3x. Okay, so they make a mistake and they cancel these two and they write 5x over x. This is completely wrong. It's just because I have a plus sign in here between these two, so that's why I cannot simplify it like that. So let's talk about multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions. So how does that work? Well, if we have a over b times c over d, so multiplication would be like this: numerator times numerator, denominator over times denominator. So I have a fraction as a result, ac times bd. Okay, let's look at an example. So for example, we have 5 times 3 over 6. So it would be 2 times 3 over 5 times 6. So actually I can kind of simplify these two. I have 5. Instead of 6, I'm going to write 2 times 3. Okay, and so these 3 cancel out with that, these 2 cancel out with that. So when you cancel out everything, for example, here on the numerator, I left with a 1 because it would be 1 times 2 times 3, right? So I have 1 over 5 as an example in here. Okay, so sometimes we have a number times a fraction. So when we have this situation, it would be like this. We have a number a that is multiplying by a fraction b over c. The answer for this, a is going to multiply by the numerator. Why? Because any number, you can write this as a fraction over 1. So the answer here is would be a b over c, since and here I can put a 1 as a fraction. Make a as a fraction, a over 1, and then a times b over 1 times c. Okay, that's the answer. For example, in here, what do I have? For example, I have 72 times 1 over 8. Okay, so and here what I need to do is to multiply 72 by 1 and then over over 8. Okay, so I can write 72 as 72 over 1. So the answer here would be 72 over 1 times 8, which is 8. Actually, I can simplify it a little further because 72 is what? 9 times 8 divided by 8. 8 is going to be cancelled with that 8. Let me remove this cancellation sign in here. And then I get a 1 on the denominator, so it is 9 over 1, and the answer is 9. We're just practicing the simplification. Okay, something else that is useful to know is division of fractions. So, divisions of fractions. How does that work? Well, I'm going to say that if we have a over b divided by c over d, okay, I'm gonna change this into multiplication and I'm gonna write it like that. I'm gonna write the first one, a over b, and then I'm gonna change the division into multiplication, and then I'm gonna flip the second fraction. I'm gonna write this as d over c. Now I have multiplication of fractions, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. It would be ad over BC. Okay, look at one example in here. Let me write this in here. So as an example, we have 3 over 5 divided by something in calculus, x over 7. Okay, so I'm going to change the division into multiplication and I'm going to flip the second fraction, as you see here. Instead of x over 7, I have 7 over x. Now I have a multiplication of fraction, numerator times numerator, and then denominators would be like this. So it would be 21 over 5x. Perfect. On this part, we have also fraction over a fraction. Fraction over a fraction. So how does this one work? Well, if I have, let me write this with this color. If I have a over b over c over d, you see I have a big fraction and I have a fraction on top, I have a fraction on the bottom. Okay, so this is basically, it's a over b, and then instead of this big fraction, I have division c over d, right? And so I can change the division in here and make it like that, a b times d over c. I flip the second fraction in here, and then it would be ad over bc. Okay, let's look at in here. ad, basically this one, okay, over what? Over bc, as you see, bc. Okay, so basically you can memorize it like that. Whenever you have like this fraction, instead of doing like this, just write a over d, a times d over b times c. Even without doing this, as you see, you can kind of use this formula. Okay, so as an example, I have what? For example, I have negative 3 over 5. Let's play with negative sign also a little bit. And then 6 over 7. Okay, you can change it into fractions. You can change this into division actually, or you can use this formula. It would be, as I said, negative is kind of like floating everywhere. So I can put it in front. The answer for a fraction would be a fraction. And then 3 times 7 over 5 times 6. 5 times 6. Okay, I can simplify this one, and then the 3 here would be cancelled out with 1 3 that I have in here. So I left with a 2 in here. So it is 7 over 5 times 2, which is 10. Don't forget the negative sign. Okay, and as a kind of a bonus, something that most of the students make a mistake on is to simplifying like this. Simplify is just a small note. Simplifying this fraction. For example, when we have a b equals to c over d, what should we do in that case? Well, you should do cross multiplication. If you have two fractions that are equal to each other, something cool between them is this one, a times b equals to b times c. Okay, so the answer here would be ad equals to cb. Okay, now I don't have a fraction to be worried about. So as an example, let's look at this. Something that comes up in calculus a lot is x3 equals to 4 over 6, for example. And then I would like to find x when I have a fraction like this equals to a fraction like that. So what I need to do is to do this kind of a trick, which is called cross multiplication. X times 6, so this times that, so x times 6 equals to 4 times 3. This times that, cross multiplication. So basically I have 6x equals to 12, and now x would be 12 divided by 6, which would be equal to 2, right? So cross multiplication is something that is very useful in calculus as well. Let's just talk about adding the fractions, or maybe subtracting the fraction. Both of them are the same thing. and we can do it with the same procedure. If we have a over b plus or even negative c over d, you need to make a common denominator. The common denominator that I always recommend to my student, because it's so fast, is just multiply a and b, a and d, b and d, both denominators, b and d, okay? And so basically I multiply these two, that's my common denominator, and then I do the cross multiplication. You see, a times d plus, because I have a plus in here, and then c times b. If I have a negative sign in here, I'm gonna put the negative sign in here. Okay, let's do one example and see how it works. The example would be this. For example, we have 3 over 7 minus 4 over 5. Okay, I want to do this fraction in here. What I need to do is to multiply the denominators and put it as the common denominator. So it would be 7 times 5, okay? And then I'm going to do the cross multiplication. 3 times 5 minus 4 times 7. Let's simplify it and see what we got. So 3 times 5 is 15, minus 4 times 7 is 28. And then I have 7 times 5, which is 35. So I get negative 13 divided by 35. It's a prime number, and this one, 35, doesn't have a factor of 13. That's why I cannot simplify it further. Okay? And for example, in calculus, we get some examples like this. 5x plus, let me make it x squared. And then 4 over, I don't know, 10, for example. Then I can do the common denominator as 5x times 10. So 5x times 10. And then I get x squared times 10 plus 4 times 5x. Cross multiplication. Okay, so let me simplify and see what I got. So 5 times 10, it would be 50. And then times x, I have 10x squared plus 20x. As you see here, I can factor out a 10x from both terms that I have in here. So on the first term, I left with an x. On the second term, I left with a 2, because I factor out x, so the x is here, and then 20 would be 2 times 10. So it is 2 over 50. T is 5 times 10 times x. So x on the numerators are going to be cancelled with the denominator, and also 10. So the answer is plus 2 divided by 5. Okay, so that's all I wanted to cover for the fractions review. I hope it's useful for everyone. Thank you.